Welcome to Energy Talks podcast. This will be the space for exploring energies, for exploring a joyful life, and for exploring those parts of life that maybe not always be brought into light, but is full of gold, of diamonds, of wisdom, and so much that are not always seen as a gift or as a possibility, but when you're just looking at it from a little different perspective, you will see that there's something there that will change everything. I am Anna Johansson, and I will be with you on this journey of possibilities, more awareness, joy, and fun. So let's get ready for an exploration of new possibilities. In today's episode, we're gonna meet Heather Smith. Heather is the author of a book called The Pharaoh's Builders. This is a book that has been talking loudly to me even before I read it. And when I had a conversation with Heather, I just knew this had to exist in the world for more people to hear, because there were so many profound things that I got to learn about myself, about my way of creating, and just being in life. So welcome to an episode that is full of golden nuggets. I almost recommend you to take notes, because there's so many things that Heather are just delivering of questions you can ask in your own creation or just in life in general, and the questions I got to ask her that just brings forth these elements of creation, of life, and of exploring a different possibility in being alive. So let's jump straight into it and enjoy. Hello, Heather.
Hi. Thanks so much for having me.
It's really a pleasure. And we met in Mexico during a facilitator training. We are both facilitators in the modality Access Consciousness. And we had a conversation there, which I wanted to invite also the listeners to this podcast too, because it's several months since we were there, but that conversation that we had, like the first thing, has really been with me as something that is kind of like so like the ground, like the core of how I look at life, at the world, at creation. So This is what I would like to dive into today and develop like those things. Because Heather, you have written a book and are writing several books. And maybe would you like to take off there, and maybe if there's something else you would like to present about yourself or...
Sure.
Go for it.
So the novel is called The Pharaoh's Builders. And it was so fun when we met and talking about the creation of this book. And that's something that you and I have so much in common, is functioning from awareness of energy. And so that was it was a really wonderful conversation. And it stuck with me too, with the richness of living life from awareness of energy as a key tool or indicator for, what to choose, how to create. And that was the basis of the creation of the novel, was using my awareness of energy and asking for my awareness of energy to create it. So we can definitely get into more of the details of that process, because I didn't just use it with the novel. I use it in business. I use it in living my life. I use it across the board. And where do you go from there? I can't talk more about my background if you'd like, but I'm like, the energy is the juicy part. I want to go straight to that.
Exactly. Yes. And that's really, and I think what you said there, that it's like this of how basing all of the processes or all of life creation on this way. So what is this for you? Let's dive into it.
All right, cool. So I was just thinking about it this morning, and I realized that, I've I've been using the tools of access consciousness for about 20 years now. And it was actually 10 years before that that I first discovered like awareness of energy as a very practical way to create change. I had asthma at the time, and I'd had it for about 7 years, and I had it with extreme food allergies. Allergic to corn and corn products and dairy products, where if I had one bite, I would have an asthma attack within like 1 or 2 minutes. So it was very, very extreme, and it had really limited, diet with what I could eat. It was way before there was soy milk and all these other alternatives and stuff. But I got to the point one day, I was like, you know what, I've had enough. I was told to just live with it, that there was nothing doctors could do for it. They didn't know why I had it. Like, they couldn't really offer me anything other than steroids and inhalers and stuff. So one day I was actually right at my 21st birthday, and I was like, you know what, I don't care what it takes. I'm going to find a way to change this. So I made a demand of myself. And in that, all of a sudden, all of these resources started showing up. I'd literally have like a book fall off the shelf in front of me, and it was like something about energy and learning how to be aware of energy and different things that you could do. And it's like, what? This is crazy, weird, and super fun. So I did a deep dive with developing my capacity with energy and becoming aware of the energy. So it's like I was looking at the energetic components of what created asthma for me. And it was everything, like my emotions have an energy, my thoughts have an energy, the actions I take have an energy, the house, I grew up in had an energy. My parents going through divorce had an energy. Like, I started to realize that really the underlying thing in everything, in the whole, all of creation, is energy. And so it made sense to me. And it was like, okay, I get this. Like, this is the one thing that actually makes sense.
Yeah.
As I explored, I could see or I could get that there was an energy to absolutely everything. And if I didn't judge that energy, I could start to ask questions about the energy and ask myself, like, what else is possible either with this energy or besides this energy? Like, is this energy changeable? And so I found lots of different ways to change the energy of things. And over the course of a year, I actually totally healed myself of asthma and all my food allergies by changing the energies of my body and my life and my points of view. And, there are lots of things that I changed the energy of, but the culmination was to no longer have any food allergies or asthma, and I never have had it since.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's always so amazing to hear like that, like really, I mean, because this is really, I'm so grateful like that you're starting here and like telling this, because it's like energy, it's one thing to talk about it, but it can be so like you cannot really grasp it in a way. But then seeing like, well, here in this case, like you were like basically only changing the energy, like all the other stuff had not worked. And when you worked with the energy, it changed and it didn't come back. I mean, that's so cool.
It is cool. Even better to get to live it.
Yeah, wow. So okay. So I get you got quite hooked on this whole thing with energy by that point.
Yes, absolutely. Like, wow, if I could do that, what else is possible by addressing the energies? So I'll get to the book part, but I also wanted to say a little bit more that's a different aspect of the energy. So all my life, up until I was about 28, I also did artwork. I painted, I did drawing and things like that. And I realized that one of the aspects of that ability and what I was developing was evoking an energy. So I realized the things that were beautiful to me aesthetically and things was because it evoked an energy, like it brought up an energy or it created an energy. And when I was painting and drawing, I realized it was like a very meditative thing for me. And there was no thinking. And it was just like an awareness of an energy and then putting paint to it or a pencil to it and seeing what image that would create. And I didn't really get that I was doing that at the time, but as I started to get these tools and skills and language for talking about awareness of energy, I'm like, oh, I was evoking energies by the images that I was drawing or painting. And so in my, let's see, when did it was like 2014 when I wrote the novel. And I hadn't painted for a long time. And I was asking the question of, I wonder what else is possible with awareness of energy? Like, what else could I create? And I was interested in maybe picking up a paintbrush again, but I was, like, it wasn't really sparking my interest. So I'm like, I wonder about writing. Like, I kind of just was thinking about it here and there a little bit. It was popping a little bit to do writing because I've also always enjoyed writing, but never really did it creatively, or it never occurred to me to write a novel or write a book. Like that just never crossed my mind at all.
Right. So, and I mean, that's quite interesting. So that was not like, it was not like in your field, like spectrum to like, oh, one day I'm going to write a novel. Like,
no,
just...
no, not at all.
No?
It was, but the question was though, like, what other creative expression is available to me besides painting and drawing that I never really considered or thought of? And then I forgot about it. Like I asked the question at some point and just forgot about it and went about my life.
Oh, that's so amazing. Like, that's such a great question. And then, as you say, like, it was not like you went on the quest of like, oh, so what is that? It was like, okay, universe, show me. What can it be? And then here's the possibility. Like, okay, that's fun. Let's go there.
I'm like, I'm just now actually like recalling that I had that request, and I'm not sure how much longer it was before it showed up. I think it was at least 6 months, maybe 8 months. I'm not really sure. So then I went to an Access Consciousness advanced class called a 7-day, and it was over in New Zealand. So I'm, in California, so a very long flight. But it had been an amazing 7-day. All sorts of magical things occurred and was really fun. And I was on the flight home, and it was the beginning of the flight. And I all of a sudden had this just like what people usually call like a download, like an energetic download. And it was this scene unfolding. It was so vivid. It was like, I don't know, it was like a really lucid dream, or like watching a movie or something where it's just so clear. And there was this character, and it was like I was totally immersed in the moment of this character. And I'm like, wow, this is really vivid. And this is pretty cool. So I actually got out a pen and paper. Yes, I'm old school. I actually have pen and paper. And I wrote down the scene that I was, perceiving and living basically in that moment. And that ended up being the opening scene of the novel. I'm
like getting shivers when you talk about this. Like, for me, this energy is so strong. Like, it really, so what I see here, like this, that it wanted to exist in the world. Like, it was like an idea coming to you and being like, like,
like, hello.
Hi.
Yeah. Well, and it was so fun for me to have such like you said, like a strong, clear presence. And it was like really a life force of its own.
Yeah.
And so, over the years, I've done a lot of different kinds of work of being aware of energy, following the energy, and doing things to actualize the energy, meaning bring it into existence. So taking an idea and making it into a business, or taking an idea and making it into a product, or, so I'd had lots of practice doing that, but I just never done it with a novel. and
And did you know at that point when those first vivid images came that was a novel, or when did you know that?
Not really. So it was really a funny process. Yeah. So I wrote it down and I'm like, that would be like a cool movie or a cool book or something, just because it was so vivid. And then as like the days went by, it was such a strong presence that I just didn't want to deny it. And so I kept writing and more scenes would unfold. And it was really like taking dictation way more than I had to struggle to come up with anything. Like I literally did not try to create any of it. It really was like it already exists, this whole world of characters and things happening in the, a place in the world and everything that was like, it was more like remembering and more like being dictated to, like this, this is who I am. Like, and literally every single character would be like, this is who I am. This is my background. This is my age. This is my relationship to the other characters. This is my personality. This is what I'm all about. And like, and some of it was kind of, I guess the energy was so clear. It was like words or like I was being talked to, but it wasn't that I actually heard voices and things, but it was so crystal clear that it was easy to write it down.
Yeah. Was it more like you said something before, but like it felt like a memory, or that you were there?
A little bit. It had flavors of that. So it was this interesting combination of like this entity outside of me that wants to come to life, and it's telling me about itself and what it is, who it is, how it is, combined with, with me, with who I am and what's like really true and real for me. And so part of it was also like, okay, I'm not going to make any rules for myself with this, and I'm not going to put any expectations on what it has to be. So I also just really played with it. Like I let myself just explore and let it be what it'll be without any expectation of, oh, I'm going to create a best-selling novel, or it's like no expectation about what it's going to become, just enjoying the process of it becoming.
Yeah. Wow, you said so many things here.
Yeah, I know. It's a rich.
Yes. And okay, so this thing of like really like the aspect of co-creation, like this of you said, like it's that energy, but it's also you, and it's that like that dancing almost like yeah.
I was going to say, so one of the things that I requested of myself with it is that I let myself say everything exactly as I would like to say it, and not like filter it or make it what I would think would be acceptable to other people. And so it was also like giving myself a voice that was unfiltered, unedited, unjudged. And that was really a powerful process for me, and really empowering. And I think it also added to the clarity that these characters could, quote unquote, speak to me, because I also didn't put any filters on them of how they should or shouldn't be, or what they should or shouldn't do. And I think that's really key. Any kind of energies, it's like the energy doesn't lie, and the energy doesn't try to be something it isn't. And so when we honor that and allow for that, there's a clarity that comes with it, and a clarity of choice, and really just a clarity, like, oh, this energy is this energy. Okay.
And that is what, when I read the book, when I've been reading the book, that is really what I feel also, like this. I mean, that is really where the beauty comes forth, when it's no filters, when it's not like, oh, it has to sound this way because of whatever background or so on. It's really like, yeah, here it is. And that is really where the creative freedom is just taking place.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is such a beautiful thing. And it's like, it's amazing how much that gets squelched and squandered by judging it
Yeah.
and trying to control it.
Was
So,
it always easy for you to have the space and allowance, or what did you sometimes struggle? And if so, what did you do to get over that?
yeah, this particular creation was really different in that I really didn't give myself any rules, like I said. So I wrote this novel in 5-minute increments. So
Oh,
yeah. So,
wow.
lots of people are like, take a day to work on your novel or take
Yeah.
always set this time. Like, my life just doesn't work that well that way to be that structured. And so I would like get a sentence of a conversation and I would write it down in that moment. Like each moment that something came, I would take action and write it down. And it would either be like a sense of a scene, like, so I'd write down my sense of the generalities of it and come back to it, or it would be very specific and I would write it down. So either way, it was constantly speaking to me and energetically feeding me what it would like to be. And so it made it really easy to take 5 minutes to write something down. It's like it gave me the energy to be able to do it. And I just listened and followed and chose it. I chose to do it. And so I wrote, it's like a 400-page novel and I wrote it in a year. So
You're breaking so many images of what it's supposed to be like when writing a book, or how it's supposed to happen and everything, by just like, yeah, 5 minutes here and there. So like, and then in the end, it turns out to be this magical work. That's amazing.
yeah, yeah, totally. Man, it's really funny too, because I would speak to a few other people that were writing different things, and most of them were so structured of when they
Right.
wrote, and then it was like, oh, but then I have writer's block, or no creativity. And it's like I never struggled with that because I didn't have those kind of parameters. It was like,
You're just like shortcutting your way to.
yeah, yeah, totally. Well, and though another piece of that was interesting is that there were some times where it was quiet. A
Mhm.
week would go by, even a month would go by, where there wasn't anything. There was no clarity or no information of what next. And I didn't fight that either, or make that wrong either. It's like, oh, okay, just the energy for it isn't here right now. Okay. So I wonder when it will be. And to not stress about that, or conclude that anything about it, to just be like, okay, that's how it is right now. And but it was like, I don't know, it was like having a friend too. So it was like, okay, this is a friend. I'm not talking to them right now, but it doesn't mean we're not friends anymore. you know, it's still here. I wonder when we'll talk again.
Oh my God, that's such a great way to see it. Because I was like, a question that just brings up is this of like how that kind of, that it takes quite much trust to know that even if it's quiet, it's still there. But then when you get to the similarity of if it's like a good friend, it's like, yeah, you know that it will be there. It will take quite much for that to break. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, this week, okay, we're not really in touch, and then next week we'll say hi or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, and that's what I realized all along this journey, is that energy is my friend. Like, awareness of energy is a friendly reality, I guess, or a friendly, I don't know how you describe it, but it's like, wow, yeah, energy is my friend. And like I said before, it never lies. And that over the years, I've developed my trust in that because I found it's true over and over and over again. Like, regardless if I like the energy or not, or what it is, it's not lying. The energy is what it is. And, good, bad, or ugly, it's just what it is. So the trust that I can trust that is been something that I found I can, but it's with decades of practice. And like the only thing that really messes me up or messes it up is when I don't trust that the energy is what it is and my awareness that I know what it is, or if I judge it, then it can get messed up. Then I can make stupid choices. But that's not because of the energy. That's just because I wasn't listening to it.
And have you always had a trust like that, or what are the choices you have made along the way to have this trust that you have today?
I'd say both. So I realized, like, as I've played with the energy and learned all these different tools to do that, like, I realized I have always been aware of energy. Like, that's something that is very natural for me. And I think everybody has awareness of energy. It can be something simple, like, I don't know, like when I was a teenager, like knowing there's some party that I want to go to and knowing it's a bad idea to go. Like, I don't know why it's a bad idea. I just know it's a bad idea. And then I go anyway and find out how bad it was. Be like, oh, I knew it was going to be terrible. Why didn't I listen? Why didn't I stay home? So it's like lots of times in my life like that, where I was aware of something and didn't listen, and then, found out why. Like, I did know. So I definitely have done that. But then the other direction too, of like, oh my gosh, I don't know why I got to go do this thing, but I know I got to go do this thing. Like, something about this is going to be amazing. And I go and I find out it's amazing. I get an awareness. I meet somebody incredible. I just, I have an experience that adds to my life. So I've also had lots of that over the years. So it has been practice, trial and error. And the older that I've gotten, the more that I'm willing to listen to what I know of the energy awareness. So
wow, I get this, how it's like this trust, and then the knowing, like really listening and just cultivating these aspects, and then they just grow stronger, like with everything we put focus and attention on, like it grows. So
it does. Yeah. Each choice builds that trust.
Yeah.
And even when, when I didn't trust my awareness and went against it, that also built my trust, because I'm like, you know what, I did know. So it's like every time we acknowledge that we really did know, we just didn't listen, that builds trust too. Because it's true.
Which is so beautiful, like, because that is like, you cannot really make a wrong choice. It's just like, okay, either you get more awareness or you get more awareness. It just come in different shapes.
Yes, exactly.
And then it's like, do you want to choose the like more joyful path, or the one that's a bit more struggle?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I love that, because with the access consciousness tools, that's really been one of the key components that I've learned from it, is that truly every choice we make can give us more awareness if we let it. And so it's really empowering. It's like, yeah, this life is a crazy adventure and can be really messy. and yet all along the way, we do have the ability to become more aware and to develop that trust in ourselves and our own knowing. And it's just, how do we want to live our life, really?
It's true.
So, yeah.
Wow. So what's up with, are there more novels coming, or?
Yes, there are. So I wrote the first novel in a year. It took a year and a half to get it out. But the second one, it's 6 years now, I think, and I'm still not done. Yeah, there's a second one that is actually getting close to being finished. It's starting to be edited. It's still not done being written, but it's getting there. And I've actually been writing many novels all at once, not just the second book. So there's a lot in the works, like as this whole world of the Pharaoh's builders has been so loud, it's been revealing, a whole huge world. And there's actually at least 7 novels in this series. So I've been working on all of them all at once, actually, including the second one. So even though I haven't published anything in a while, I have been writing a lot and creating a lot with all of the books. And there's 3 that are, sequential in a row. And then there's 4 more that are like a prequel for some of the main characters. So it's very fun and exciting, and still a very rich and dynamic world that is being created and actualizing.
Yeah, so amazing. Can you invite us a bit into how do you like, maybe not how do you know, but like this knowing that it's 7 novels, how do you know like that this information goes to this book and the other one to the other? Like, how does your creative process look like?
Yeah, well, so that some of that has been a little more tricky.
Okay.
It started to get confusing because I was thinking that everything that I was getting was about the next book. So like for a while I created a bunch of it, and then it just started to get weird and like all over the place and more random, I want to say. The first book was a little bit more sequential, or it would tell me what part of the story I was being told about. But then I just started to get more and more information, and it was like, whoa, what is going on? Mm-hmm. And so I just started to ask some different questions. Yes, like, is this more than just one book? Yes. Yeah. Okay. So what other books are these? Like, what else is there of the story to be told? And so I didn't really get like an answer of exactly how many books, but it started to reveal more of the story further out. So I'm like, okay, so there's the next book too, and this is kind of what's going on in this book. And then there's a third book, and here's a little bit about what's going on in that book. But then all this, like, almost all the characters started to tell me more about their past and where they came from, and how they got to, the Pharaoh's builders and what occurs in the first book. So, so a lot of characters, just started to reveal this whole other world. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of like a whole book, isn't it? The characters are like, uh-huh. Yeah. Like, now you get it? Yeah. And then there's actually another series that I also thought was part of this series, but is its own series that's, characters from the North, and they actually will connect to the Pharaoh's Land series, but it's its own series. So I'm like, okay, that's like another couple books that somehow connects. But I'm like, okay, people, you got to deliver this to me in a way that I can write it down with some clarity here.
That's also such a good request, like really asking the idea, that energy entity, to be like, okay, I get you have a lot to communicate here, but I don't really get it. So can you do it in some other way?
Yes. Can you do it with a little more clarity, or a little slower, or something?
Yeah, exactly. And it's what I hear here, that is this of like, when something seems confusing or not going forward, to think bigger, or like allowing it to be like, oh, is it actually something greater here than I have seen before?
Yeah, greater and different. Like, Is it? Yeah, because I definitely had the point of view it was just going to be like one, maybe two more books, and it's like, no.
They're like, hey, we have a whole universe to deliver here. That's more than
Yeah.
one book.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So this is really cool to talk about right now, though, because it's actually giving me some more clarity to have said that out
Oh,
loud. I'm like,
amazing.
oh, okay.
Wow.
Now it can maybe actualize a little bit quicker with those
That's,
questions.
I mean, that's so cool because it's really when we had the conversation the first time, like before I had read your book, it's really just of like them following the energy, or when an energy is strong. Like when you started to talk about this book, I was like, what is this? Can you tell me more? What it like being so, I'm like, there's something here. I need to know more. And
Yeah.
that is really when I have that, that is one of the things that I follow. Like I'm like, okay, it's a lot of energy here. Like it's something important, like all the neon lights being and
Yeah.
this thing of, and just a bit of my experience with this, and just how I'm so grateful to have this conversation now, and more aspects coming forward. And like there's so many things also that you said is so great questions for creation, and as like really aspects of living, and this of how then for me, like one aspect, just this holding conversation, this whole thing, but then actually what the Pharaoh's builders, like the energy, that entity is also speaking so loud to me. And
Yeah.
that I find so beautiful. Like I know that I'm not the one writing it, but I know that it's kind of like is here, and it wants to exist in a book because it wants to have conversations with many people. It wants to be in the life and the existence in many universes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is, for me, that is so, when an energy is so strong and I can start receiving from it, that really, it opens up my world as well, and something else is created and life is greater, and like that's just it.
People are usually pretty extreme with their response to it. Like they either really love it and they're like, oh my God, I can't wait to hear more. Or they're like not into it.
Yeah,
So it is a very strong energy and a very
yeah.
strong presence. And that actually makes me really happy that it has created that in your world. And for lots of people that I've heard from who've told me the same, like it really has sparked something and feeds something. And um, yeah, that's cool to hear, because it also, that's the energy that it's been in creating it. Like it's such a strong presence and feeds me and is like contributing something. Can't necessarily define what that is, but it's definitely contributing something. And so it's like the fun for me is going on the adventure to find out more about what that is.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's what it's all about. Like just the adventure. Like, okay, there's more to explore. Show me.
Yeah. 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 Well, and just so many beautiful things that have a life force of their own that would like to interact with us. I
Yes.
mean, it kind of reminds me like of planet Earth. Our planet
Yeah.
is like that. It's such an intense energy and so beautiful and spacious and has so much to contribute if we're willing to engage with it and receive from it. And I've been very lucky and blessed to find all sorts of entities to engage with. People like you and books like these and the
Yeah.
planets, and it's all sorts of things. There's so many beautiful beings and energies available to us.
It's so true. And that is really also where I mean, I also facilitate classes in Talk to the Entities. And
Yeah.
this, like Talk to the Entities, it's like a specialty modality of access consciousness. So it's based on these many like questions, and just inviting to see that the world is very rich, which is really the gift that Talk to the Entities has been for me, to see that what if we can actually include all beings? What if it's so many energies, entities, and things that exist that we don't see with the eyes, or that maybe, like, at least for me, it has been, I have never had words for this before.
Yeah.
And now when I have the awareness, like, yeah, wow, this is actually more the way that I look at reality. I can also see things like back in my life where it's like, yeah, that was really different energies engaging with me and helping me and contributing to my life. And it's just such a more beautiful experience to include all beings.
Yeah, it really is. And that's something that's been really magical in my life, and intense sometimes too, is I've also always had awareness of, entities and ghosts and all different kinds of different beings, that, have a point of view and have a, something to say,
Yeah.
and how to work with that. So I've done a lot of the talk to the entities work, and long before I found access, I worked with entities in a variety of different ways too. So um yeah, so that the whole realm and idea of, quote unquote non-physical beings communicating with me, was already familiar for most of my life, and something I was open to already, and experienced already. So it wasn't that far of a stretch that it could be something like a book or a business, or some other kind of creation that would like to be physically actualized, to talk to me, to tap on my shoulder and go, hey.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, um, yeah, what else is possible we never considered? And what else would be fun? Like, that's one of the things for me, is like all this, talking to entities and engaging with something that has a life force of its own is really fun.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
it's a good time usually.
That's my experience as well. It's just enriching. Life
Yeah.
just gets greater.
Yeah. 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 And even entities that are not that fun or not that smart. Again, just because it's not all positive and rainbows doesn't mean you can't get more awareness from it, and it can add to your life.
No. And I mean, it's like with all people, which I think it was so
Yeah.
beautiful before. I've never heard that before in that way, like how you said that energy is kind of like your friend, like energy is your friend. And
Yeah.
it's really, where was I going with this? Okay, so like the first thing, that people are people, like there are many different kind of people, like some are nice
Yes.
to be with, others are not. And yeah, like with friends, like sometimes you're a friend with a person for a while and then it's like, okay, it's actually done now, like we came to whatever this exchange was, and now like we're going separate ways, and sometimes that can be dramatic and sometimes not at all. It's just like, okay,
Yeah.
that was it, thank you for everything. And some friendships really stays, some friendships is like part of the life. And
Yeah.
I would say that is like this, the different forms and shapes of entities and energies, like some are just like flowing through life, some are more pleasant and others are not, and then there's this like evergreen friend of energy, and just this always there, trusting and being there.
Yeah. Well, it's like we're not alone in this universe, and this is, for me, engaging with the energies is really an acknowledgement of that. Of there are so many different kinds of life forms, that are here to cooperate with us and contribute to us, and are beautiful to interact with and engage with, and what's really possible with that. And that's, to me, that's something that I've had a curiosity about, and something that I really enjoy, is to ask that and ask for more of that, and engage with that. It makes life yummy.
Yes. I'm all like warm and fuzzy now. It's just
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yes.
wow. Well, thank you so much. This has been amazing.
You're
Is there
so very welcome.
any like anything else that's just popping for you right now, or that would be fun to?
Two things.
Yeah.
One, just I invite everybody to start acknowledging in their own life, like, what are the ways that they are aware of energy already that they maybe haven't been acknowledging. Because the more you acknowledge it, the more of it you get with ease and the more clarity you get. And, how many times did you have a hunch or an inkling, or you just knew you had to do something or you shouldn't do something and you did it? And what awareness did you get from that choice? And what would it take to have more of that and enjoy the ride?
Yes. Wow. Yeah, thank you for that. That's really how it can be so easy. Like sometimes when maybe if you're like shutting down your energy or you think that you don't get energy, it can be so easy to get stuck in that conclusion. But actually that question, like with everything like the tools in access consciousness, is this of like questions opened up so you can have your awareness. So that question that you said right there. So like if you notice that you go to the conclusion like, oh, I don't get it, what would be if you added a question instead? And this amazing question that you just said, it's gold.
Thank you. And then the second thing is, if you're interested in my novel, The Pharaoh's Builders, it's on Amazon as a Kindle or paperback. So it's The Pharaoh's Builders by Heather Periwinkle Smith. So you can find it there.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so good. And your name, yes, Periwinkle. I love it.
Yes. And it's spelled PerrywinklE. So a little bit different spelling than the flower.
Great.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for having me on with you today. It's been wonderful.
Yes. Thank you so much. Real pleasure. Really such a gift. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Mwah.
Thank you for listening to Energy Talks podcast with me, Anna Johansson. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And if you did, please share it. Please share it with a friend that you think might like this. Please write a review on iTunes or wherever you're listening to this. Share it in social media. And if you want to get in contact with me, that's easiest through my website, annajohansson.com. Enjoy your day, and what else is possible now?